Welcome back, dear friend. Tonight, we are traveling far beyond the reach of time itself, into an age long before cities, before stories, before even memory. Tonight, we're stepping into the prehistoric era, a time when the earth belonged not to humankind, but to giants, towering dinosaurs, massive beasts with teeth like knives and tails that could crush trees, ruled the land. The skies were heavy with flying reptiles, and deep within the seas, monstrous creatures lurked that could swallow a boat whole. It's a world that feels like a dream, and yet it was once very real. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you enjoy the kind of content that merges myth and mystery. And hey, let us know from where you're watching. What time is it for you right now? Sometimes our stories are better than sleep, and other times they make you dream louder. It's time now to dim the lights, turn on a fan for some noise, and let's cover what we have for tonight together. Let's imagine for just a moment that you could step through time. No safety gear, no weapons, no preparation, and land in the middle of the prehistoric world. Not in a movie, not a simulation, but the real thing. The moment you open your eyes, everything you know about safety and survival collapses instantly. The air feels different. The ground looks unfamiliar. And before you even take your first step, you've already made your first mistake. You've arrived unprepared in one of the most dangerous environments Earth has ever known. This is the Cretaceous period, roughly 100 million years ago, the last great age of the dinosaurs. You're standing in a landscape that looks nothing like the world you recognize. The first thing you'd notice is the atmosphere itself. Oxygen levels are higher than today, and carbon dioxide saturates the air. Every breath feels thick, humid, almost heavy in your lungs. It's warm, oppressively so. The planet's climate is tropical from pole to pole, with no ice caps, no winter chill. The air carries the smell of wet vegetation, rotting wood, and mud baked under an ancient sun. All around you, vegetation stretches in every direction, towering conifers, ferns the size of small trees, cycads with hard, waxy leaves. There are no flowers anywhere. Those wouldn't dominate the landscape for millions of years yet. Instead, everything is a deep, unbroken green. You're standing in a living greenhouse, dense and wet and loud, with the buzz of insects you've never seen before. And then you realize something else. You're alone. No human voices, no birds you can name, no rustle of small mammals. The silence between the sounds is enormous, broken only by distant calls, low, echoing bellows that shake through the trees like rolling thunder. The prehistoric world is alive, but it's not built for you. If you try to walk, you'll find the ground soft and uneven. It's a mix of decomposing plants, mud, and layers of sediment soaked from near constant rain. Every step sinks a little. Within minutes, your clothes are damp, your skin sticky, you start sweating heavily. Your body isn't built for this level of humidity. Dehydration would hit fast here, faster than you'd expect. Within an hour, you'd already be craving clean water. You might find a stream, glistening in the filtered sunlight. It looks refreshing, but it's a trap. The water is full of ancient bacteria, microorganisms, and parasites that modern immune systems have never encountered. One sip could introduce infections that would overwhelm your body in hours. Even touching your eyes, or a cut after that, could be enough. The prehistoric Earth doesn't want you dead. It just doesn't care whether you survive. But the danger doesn't end with disease. Every noise around you hides a potential predator. The forest canopy above is filled with flickers of movement, small reptiles, primitive birds, maybe even a few gliding mammals, all watching for opportunity. The air vibrates with insect wings, giant dragonflies. Their wingspans, nearly a foot wide, dart through the air. They're harmless to you, but they're a reminder of how different this world is. Everything here grew larger, faster, and tougher than the creatures you know. And then, the real test of your nerves arrives. A sound, a rhythmic crashing through the trees, deep and deliberate. You freeze. The volume grows. Leaves tremble. The ground begins to shudder faintly under your feet. Through the haze, something enormous moves between the trunks. First, a flash of a tail, thicker than your entire body. Then, a massive, slow-moving shadow. A herbivore, maybe a hadrosaur or triceratops, grazing quietly on the vegetation. It's the size of a bus. Its movements are calm, steady, but its presence changes the entire atmosphere. You are standing near an animal that could crush you underfoot without even noticing. Instinct tells you to stay quiet, and you should, because where there's prey, there's always a predator. The forest goes still for just a second, then you hear it. A different sound, not heavy footsteps, but light, sharp ones. The air shifts. Somewhere behind the herbivore, a hunter moves, low, fast, calculating. The predator's senses are tuned to movement and scent, and you, standing in sweat-soaked modern clothes, smell like nothing it's ever known. That might confuse it for a moment, or it might make it curious. The predator bursts into sight, a medium-sized theropod, maybe a Deinonychus, or smaller cousin of the tyrannosaur. Not towering, but fast, intelligent, agile. Its head jerks from side to side as it assesses the herd. Muscles ripple beneath scales and feathers. It's built for precision and killing efficiency. You watch it dart forward in a blur of motion, teeth flashing, claws slicing through the thick air. The herd panics, trees shake, and for a moment, it's chaos. Dust, leaves, sound, movement. You duck down, your heart hammering. The predator doesn't see you, not yet. When it's over, silence returns, slow and eerie. The air smells like torn vegetation and damp soil. The forest returns to its rhythm, as if nothing happened. But you're shaking now, not from the noise, but from the understanding of where you are. This is a world where you are not the apex species. You're soft-skinned, slow, poorly adapted, and without tools. You're nothing but a vulnerable animal at the bottom of the food chain. As daylight fades, you'd have to find shelter fast. Nights here are dangerous. The temperature might drop, and predators hunt by sound and scent. You could try to climb a tree, but that's risky too. Many prehistoric forests housed early arboreal hunters or scavengers that could easily reach you. Caves, if you found one, might already be occupied by reptiles or insect colonies that don't take kindly to intruders. There's no easy choice, and no safe one either. You're only a few hours in, and already survival feels impossible. You're thirsty, overheating, exposed, and terrified. The dinosaurs are just one problem among many. The real challenge is the environment itself. The microbes, the air, the heat, the terrain. The earth in this age is alive in ways you can't comprehend, and every part of it resists your presence. And that's only the beginning. You've made it through the first few hours, but when night comes, the real predators awaken. The ones that rely not on sight, but on sound and smell. The ones that hunt in the dark. The prehistoric world doesn't sleep. When the sun drops below the horizon, the danger doesn't disappear. It changes shape. The same forest that was humid and alive during the day becomes something far more sinister at night. The air cools slightly, mist begins to form around the base of the trees, and the sounds shift. The chirping of daytime insects fades, replaced by deep, rhythmic croaks, distant calls, and the occasional sharp cry of something unlucky. You can't see far now. The thick canopy blocks out the stars, and there's no moonlight strong enough to pierce the haze. Your eyes strain in the dark, catching faint silhouettes where the last scraps of light hang between the trees. Every shadow looks like movement, and every crack of a branch could be something watching. In this world, night belongs to predators. The first thing you'd notice is the noise. The forest doesn't go silent. It gets louder, but the pattern of sound changes. You start hearing calls that seem designed to confuse you. Low, repeating growls, strange hissing notes, clicking sounds. Many of these come from nocturnal hunters, calling to one another, or from smaller animals, trying to sound larger than they are. To a modern human, it's impossible to tell which is which. If you're still moving, you're already at a disadvantage. Humans are visual hunters by nature, but out here, your eyes are useless. You'd have to rely on sound and touch, but those senses would betray you. The crunch of your feet on ancient leaves, the sound of your breath, even the faint rustle of your clothes could announce your position to everything nearby. Many predators of the Cretaceous era were ambush hunters, relying on stealth and darkness. They were made for this. You weren't. Let's imagine you found shelter, maybe under an overhanging rock formation, or in the hollow of a fallen tree trunk. You settle in, trying to stay quiet. The ground beneath you feels damp and uneven. You can hear insects crawling and the soft movements of small creatures scurrying through the undergrowth. Their constant activity keeps you tense, but it's also a good sign. As long as the small things are still moving, it means the big things haven't arrived yet. But then, gradually, the forest starts to quiet down. The background noise thins. That's the first warning sign. Prehistoric animals lived by instinct, and when they sensed danger, they went silent. Within moments, what was once a noisy forest becomes unnervingly still. You hear your own heartbeat, you hear your breath. Then, somewhere in the distance, a sound cuts through the silence, long, drawn out, and deep. A predator's call, not a roar like in the movies, but something closer to a heavy exhale, followed by a deep pulse that you feel in your chest more than your ears. That's the sound of something big moving into the area, possibly a nocturnal carnivore like Tarbosaurus, a cousin of the T-Rex that hunted across parts of Asia, or perhaps a smaller predator like Troodon, one of the most intelligent dinosaurs of its time. Troodon was only about human-sized, but with keen senses and large forward-facing eyes, it could see in near total darkness, and it hunted in groups. For them, you wouldn't even be a challenge. You'd be a curiosity, a strange, hairless animal, with no claws, no armor, no defense. In the dark, you wouldn't see them first. You'd hear them, the faint crunch of soil, the soft rhythmic breathing, maybe even the sound of claws brushing against bark. You'd have to stay perfectly still. Your only real weapon is silence, And even that won't save you for long. They can smell you, the scent of sweat, oil, and fear, all foreign to this ecosystem, travels easily through the damp air. Meanwhile, insects begin to swarm. They're drawn to your body heat, your carbon dioxide, and your scent. In this era, some species of mosquitoes and biting flies are nearly twice the size of modern ones, and their bites can cause serious infection. The constant irritation would make it nearly impossible to stay motionless for long. The moment you move or swat one away, you make a noise. And in a world of hunters that can track by sound, that's enough. Let's say you make it through the first few hours of darkness without being noticed. You're still not safe. Temperature fluctuations mean condensation starts to form. Cold drops of water dripping from the leaves above, soaking your clothes and hair. The wetness chills you, and without proper insulation, you begin to shiver. Hypothermia isn't your first concern in a tropical climate, but the combination of exhaustion, fear, and dehydration would quickly drain your strength. Your body would be running purely on adrenaline, and that won't last. And while you sit there, trying to ignore the sounds, something small brushes past your hand. It's a lizard, or maybe something more primitive. Amphibians, early mammals, and small reptiles fill every niche of this environment. Some are harmless, others carry venom. A single bite could cause paralysis, fever, or worse. You wouldn't know which is which until it's too late. Eventually, curiosity would get the better of you. You'd try to peer out into the darkness to see what's moving out there. But what you'd find most unsettling is how quietly the large predators move. You'd expect something that weighs several tons to make a lot of noise, but most of them don't. Evolution trained them to walk with precision, to distribute their weight in ways that kept their prey unaware until the last second. When they move through the forest, you don't see them. You feel the vibrations, the pressure change, the instinctive tightening in your chest that tells you you're being watched. Every so often, a distant crash breaks the silence. Trees shaking, something feeding, tearing flesh from bone. The smell carries through the air, metallic, wet, and unmistakable. That smell is the smell of blood, and it means something else nearby has died. For you, that might be good news. It could distract the predators for a while, but it also draws others. The sound of feeding is like a beacon in this ecosystem. Scavengers, small carnivorous dinosaurs, large insects, and early mammals rush to the scene. They don't care what they're eating, only that it's meat. The night continues, slow and relentless. Time stretches. Every sound, every flicker of movement keeps your nerves on edge. You can't sleep. You can't rest. Every muscle in your body aches from tension. The hours crawl by, and the forest never really quiets. By the time the faintest glow of dawn starts to filter through the mist, your body is exhausted. Your eyes burn from lack of sleep, and your throat feels dry, like sandpaper. You've survived the night, but only barely, and that's assuming you haven't been bitten, scratched, or infected by anything yet. The prehistoric night is a perfect reminder of how fragile human survival really is. You rely on fire, light, shelter, and tools to feel safe. Take all that away, and you're just another animal trying to outlast the dark. Out here, instincts matter more than intelligence. Strength and speed matter more than thought. And in the prehistoric world, everything that moves has both. The first rays of sunlight break through the canopy. The air warms again, and the forest starts to stir. The smaller predators retreat, melting into the shadows to rest. The larger ones move toward the open plains to hunt in daylight. The insects resume their deafening buzz, and the jungle breathes again. You've made it through one night, but the hardest part is still ahead, because the moment daylight returns, the true giants of this world begin to move, and they won't care whether you've survived the night or not. The first light of dawn doesn't bring relief. It brings exposure. The forest that seemed claustrophobic in the dark now stretches endlessly in every direction. A thick, golden mist hangs close to the ground, and the world glows in muted shades of green and amber. You survived the night, but now comes a new kind of danger, the daylight hours, when the largest creatures on Earth begin to stir. The temperature rises fast. Within an hour, the humid air that chilled you overnight becomes thick and stifling. There's no breeze here, no clean, cool gust to cut through the heat. Every breath feels like inhaling through a damp cloth. Sweat collects instantly, soaking your clothes and making your skin slick. This isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. In the prehistoric tropics, heat stroke is one of the first threats you'd face. Without water, without shade, and without rest, your body begins to fail long before hunger even becomes a problem. You start to move cautiously, looking for higher ground. The forest floor is unpredictable. Roots like coiled ropes, mud that can swallow your foot whole, and insects that seem determined to crawl beneath your clothes. The constant noise of the ecosystem is almost overwhelming. Cicadas scream from the canopy. Strange reptiles call out from hidden burrows, and the occasional thud of something large in the distance reminds you just how small you are. The prehistoric world doesn't quiet down for your survival. It thrives on chaos. As you climb through the dense undergrowth, the ground begins to slope upward, and eventually, you reach the edge of a clearing. What lies beyond it is breathtaking. The landscape opens into a wide floodplain, bordered by rivers and swamps. The sun reflects off standing water, making everything shimmer. Ferns grow in thick mats, and the trees look almost sculpted. Straight trunks with crowns of narrow leaves high above the ground. This is the open world of the Cretaceous, a vast, untamed ecosystem stretching across continents that haven't yet taken their modern shape. And then you see them, not one, but dozens, massive, slow-moving shapes emerging from the morning haze. Sauropods, the giants. Their necks rise high above the tree line, swaying slowly as they feed on leaves from the tallest branches. They move with impossible grace for their size, each step measured and steady. The ground vibrates beneath your feet as they walk. Even from a distance, their scale is beyond comprehension. Some are over 80 feet long, weighing more than 50 tons. If you stood beside one, its leg would be as thick as a tree trunk, its shadow enough to swallow you whole. The air smells of them, earthy, musky, heavy with the scent of living giants. You're witnessing a scene that no human eye was ever meant to see in person. Herds of titanic creatures coexisting, communicating with deep rumbles that you can feel in your chest more than hear with your ears. It's awe-inspiring, but it's also terrifying, because when animals get this big, even their accidents can kill. A single misplaced step, a falling branch, a startled reaction, you'd be crushed before you had time to realize what happened. And then there's the ecosystem that follows them. For every giant plant eater, there are predators lurking nearby, massive carnivores, theropods like Tyrannosaurus rex Giganotosaurus or Mapusaurus dominate this world. They patrol the peripheries of herds, waiting for weakness. They're not constantly attacking. These creatures conserve energy, but the moment an opportunity arises, a young or injured sauropod, a separated individual, they strike with brutal precision. To witness that from a distance would be both mesmerizing and horrifying. Up close, it would be over in seconds. For you, even the peaceful giants pose problems. You can't predict their movements. Their size means they can't easily maneuver around obstacles, so they just push through. Trees snap, boulders shift, and the ground compresses under their weight. If you try to cross an area they're moving through, you might find yourself trapped with nowhere to go. To them, you don't even register as life, just another small animal in the brush. The heat intensifies, your lips start to dry, and your muscles ache from dehydration. The prehistoric sun is merciless. UV radiation levels are higher than in the modern era because the ozone layer is not yet as stable. Without protection, you'd burn within hours. Your skin would blister, peel, and become dangerously sensitive. Each movement would hurt. Sweat would sting in every open wound. You'd find yourself desperate for shade. But the open plains offer little. Maybe you think about water again. There's a river not far away, its surface shimmering in the sunlight. You remember what happened the last time you thought about drinking? But thirst wins out. You walk toward it, pushing through tall ferns and low shrubs, the air buzzing with insects. As you reach the bank, you see the surface ripple. Something is moving beneath. Then suddenly, the calm explodes. A massive creature bursts upward, jaws wide, water spraying into the air. It's a Dinosaurs, a prehistoric crocodile, easily 30 feet long. It lunges at a hadrosaur drinking on the far side of the river, its teeth clamping down with enough force to crush bone. The sound is wet and final. The water churns red, and the ripples spread toward you. You freeze, heart pounding, realizing that this river isn't a refuge. It's another hunting ground. In the prehistoric world, water doesn't mean safety. It means ambush. You back away slowly, careful not to make noise. Your legs shake from adrenaline and exhaustion. You're running out of energy, and there's no clear direction that leads to safety. The forest is full of predators. The open plains expose you. The rivers hide ambushers. Even the air itself feels hostile, full of spores and bacteria, waiting to find a weakness in your body. The very environment works against you. Then, a sound rolls across the landscape. A long, vibrating call. Not a roar, not an attack, just communication. You turn and see two massive herbivores, locking necks, testing strength in a slow, deliberate display. Dust rises around them as their bodies collide. It's not violence out of malice. It's nature's hierarchy. At work, the winners get the best feeding grounds, the strongest mates, the safest paths. Everything here is competition, and you're the only one not adapted to play the game. Your stomach growls. Hunger has finally arrived, but there's nothing safe to eat. Most prehistoric plants are fibrous, tough, and indigestible to humans. Many contain chemicals that would cause nausea or worse. Even the fruits or seeds that might look edible are alien to your biology. You could chew them, but they wouldn't provide energy, just bitterness and discomfort. The only real food source would be insects, and even then, you'd have to choose carefully. Some are venomous, others carry parasites. You might force yourself to eat a few, crunching through their shells, hoping for a trace of sustenance, but it wouldn't be enough. As the sun climbs higher, the entire landscape shimmers in the heat. The air seems to ripple, and sound distorts. Your mind begins to blur. The prehistoric world feels alive, but you can feel your body beginning to fail within it. Every step feels heavier than the last. Sweat pours down your back, and your throat burns with thirst. You've survived the night, only to be crushed by the day. And then, in the distance, you see movement. Something vast, something different. A shadow moving against the horizon. It's not a predator. It's something larger, slower, ancient even by dinosaur standards. The earth itself seems to quake under its weight. You can't yet tell what it is, but whatever it might be, you're about to meet the true titans of the prehistoric world. By mid-morning, the prehistoric world begins to reveal its true giants. The herbivores you glimpsed earlier are only a hint of what dominates this era. Sauropods, the long-necked behemoths, move across plains like living mountains. Their sheer size is incomprehensible to a human mind. Some species could reach lengths of over 100 feet, with necks that tower above the tallest conifers. Their heads, relatively small compared to their massive bodies, move with deliberate slowness, grazing treetops with precision. To survive near these creatures requires constant awareness, because one careless step by them could flatten you instantly. You might see a herd spread across the floodplain. The adults create a wall of muscle and bone, while juveniles huddle in the middle, protected but still vulnerable. Despite their size, these animals are constantly alert. They communicate through low-frequency rumbles, vibrations that travel across the ground, warning herd members of approaching predators. Humans, however, are not equipped to interpret these signals. You would be an intruder in a communication system that operates on a scale far beyond your senses. A misstep, a loud noise, or even the wrong silhouette could draw unwanted attention. Predators shadow these giants constantly. Even a massive sauropod can fall victim to a coordinated attack. Packs of theropods, like Allosaurus or Mapusaurus, are intelligent hunters. They work together to isolate the young or sick from the herd. The process is terrifyingly efficient. As a human observer, the strategy is clear, but for you, witnessing it from the wrong distance could be fatal. A startled adult could swipe its tail at a perceived threat and end a life instantly. The environment itself, trees, rocks, uneven terrain, provides no refuge from these enormous, moving weapons. Every step you take must be calculated. The ground trembles as the giants move, each footfall displacing tons of earth. Streams of water ripple from the vibrations. Mud slides beneath your feet, and smaller animals scatter into the undergrowth. You can feel the impact in your chest, like a pulse from the planet itself. Survival in their presence requires understanding distance, timing, and the rhythm of the herd, none of which comes naturally to a modern human suddenly dropped into this world. The larger predators are not limited to the forest edges or rivers. Some of the most dangerous hunters patrol open plains, scanning for weakness. Tyrannosaurs, for example, rely not on stealth alone, but also on sheer power and reach. Their bites could crush bone and tear through flesh with a single strike. Even if you were hidden, a tyrannosaur's sensory systems, vision attuned to movement, a keen sense of smell, would likely detect you long before you realize they are present. A misjudgment of speed or cover, and there would be no escape. Behavioral observation reveals patterns that hint at both opportunity and danger. Sauropods move in predictable paths between feeding grounds, often congregating near water sources. Predators exploit these patterns. They study the herd's rhythm, the timing of feeding, and the vulnerabilities that appear when adults spread apart to graze. For a human, these dynamics are invisible until disaster strikes. Even understanding predator patterns would not guarantee survival. Humans are neither fast nor strong enough to escape when noticed. Vegetation in these areas complicates movement. Giant ferns, cycads, and tall conifers create mazes of branches and roots. You might attempt to navigate through them for cover, only to find yourself slowed by thick mud or tangled vines. The density of plant life is deceptive. It appears protective, but can trap you when you need to flee. Even a cautious pace increases the likelihood of detection by predators or accidents caused by the immense weight of nearby herbivores. You might attempt to climb a fallen log or a tree to avoid danger, but the trees capable of supporting your weight are few, and many branches are brittle or laden with the pressure of centuries of growth. Climbing exposes you, makes you visible, and might put you within reach of climbing predators. Arboreal or semi-arboreal hunters, though smaller than ground-based theropods, could still reach you with surprising agility. Even the safest vantage points are not truly safe. The sun rises higher, intensifying the heat and the challenges. Sweat runs into your eyes. Dust clings to damp skin, and muscles ache from continuous tension. Your thirst and fatigue become constant companions, distracting your mind just enough to make mistakes. In this environment, minor errors are magnified exponentially. Misjudging distance, underestimating a predator's speed, or pausing too long in open terrain could be fatal. Every sensory input, sound, movement, smell, is amplified by the ecosystem to detect intruders. Like you, the giants themselves continue to dominate the landscape. Their long tails, used for balance and defense, can sweep through dense vegetation like battering rams. One flick from a sauropod's tail could crush a human instantly, and the momentum behind such movements is terrifying. The herd's sheer mass displaces smaller animals continuously. Even standing at a safe distance does not guarantee immunity. Branches snapping, mud sliding, or falling debris could injure you without warning. Predation is constant, though not always visible. The hunter's patience is unmatched. Theropods often wait hours for the perfect moment. Their vision is keen, their intelligence adaptive. Some species rely on ambush and cooperation. Alone, a human stands little chance of surviving such encounters. Observing them, however, reveals complex social behaviors, communication through calls, physical displays, and coordinated attacks, demonstrating that the prehistoric world was not chaotic, but a highly organized system of survival. Movement through the environment requires extreme awareness. You must account for not only predators, but also terrain, temperature, and environmental hazards. Rivers and streams, while sources of water, are hunting grounds for massive crocodilians. Swamps are dense with insects, venomous plants, and hidden pitfalls. Even the sunlight, relentless and intense, can sap strength rapidly, leaving you slower, weaker, and more likely to make critical errors. The presence of the giants makes for some of the most striking and terrifying moments in the prehistoric world. Observing them, you feel both awe and vulnerability. You are acutely aware of your own fragility. Every move must be deliberate. Every breath must be considered. You exist in an ecosystem designed to favor immense power, speed, and adaptation, qualities humans had not yet evolved. One misstep, one lapse in attention, and the consequences are immediate. By mid-morning, the reality is undeniable. Surviving alongside the giants of the prehistoric Earth is not simply difficult, it is almost impossible. Their scale, strength, and behavior dominate the landscape. As a human, you're at the bottom of every hierarchy, every choice. Where to walk, what to eat, where to hide, is constrained by threats you can barely perceive, let alone control. Your mind races constantly, calculating, anticipating, but instinct is no match for evolution honed over millions of years. Even after hours of careful observation and cautious movement, the world remains unforgiving. The giant's presence is a constant reminder that survival is contingent not on skill or intelligence alone, but on luck, timing, and the ability to remain unseen. Every moment spent in their shadow is a test of endurance and awareness. And the deeper you move into their territory, the more challenges compound. The prehistoric world is vast, complex, and lethal. By the time you pause for a brief respite, hidden in the undergrowth, you understand something essential. This is a world built for survival at extremes. The giants are only one part of a wider network of predators, competitors, and environmental hazards. The day will continue to expose you to heat, dehydration, predation, and disease. The lesson is clear. While observing the prehistoric titans is awe-inspiring, it is also a constant reminder of your vulnerability in a world that existed long before humans. The morning heat brings more than discomfort. It awakens the apex predators of the prehistoric world. While the giants dominate in size and presence, the real danger lies in those built for precision, speed, and lethal efficiency. These are the hunters, theropods, raptors, and carnivorous reptiles, creatures designed to detect, stalk, and kill their prey with astonishing skill. For any human suddenly transported to this era, the odds of survival against these animals are effectively zero. Consider first the medium-sized predators like Velociraptor or Deinonychus. Despite being smaller than the giants, they are anything but harmless. Agile, intelligent, and highly coordinated, these predators often hunted in packs. Their hunting strategy is remarkable. One distracts the prey, while others strike from angles the target cannot anticipate. Their claws, especially the iconic sickle-shaped claw on the foot, can pierce deeply, inflicting fatal wounds quickly. Observing them in action is chilling, even from a distance. They can calculate risk, track movement, and adapt their approach, behaviors far beyond the instinctual hunting of most modern predators. Larger predators dominate in power. Tyrannosaurus rex, for example, is built for annihilation, standing over 12 feet tall at the hip and stretching more than 40 feet long. It moves with surprising speed for its size. Its massive jaw can generate thousands of pounds of pressure, capable of crushing bone and tearing through the thickest hides. Its hunting method is not only brute force, but strategic. It observes, stalks, and attacks when vulnerability is identified. In a human context, even an adult in peak condition would be utterly defenseless. The predator's senses, keen eyesight, and an extraordinary sense of smell would detect you long before you could react. Other apex predators, such as Allosaurus, rely on agility and timing. Their hunting style involves slashing and biting to weaken larger prey over repeated attacks. Observing one attack a large herbivore is like watching a master strategist at work. The predator analyzes its target's weight, momentum, and speed to maximize efficiency. For a human standing nearby, a single misstep could place you in the path of a predator, striking instinctively. Survival requires more than hiding. It demands anticipating an animal whose instincts have been perfected over millions of years. Scavengers also pose danger. You might think that some predators ignore humans due to size or irrelevance, but in the prehistoric ecosystem, curiosity and opportunity often override selectivity. Smaller carnivorous dinosaurs, opportunistic reptiles, and even massive insects could attack a weakened human. Disease-carrying bites or venomous stings are likely in areas where predators are concentrated. Observing a pack feeding is instructive but horrifying. The noise, the struggle, the rapid consumption all suggest the efficiency of a system honed over eons. Predator behavior is not limited to hunting. Many species use display and intimidation to control territory. Vocalizations, body posture, and even color patterns signal dominance or warn intruders. A human entering this territory inadvertently triggers these responses. A theropod's roar is not just sound, it's a wave of air pressure, a vibration that communicates both size and intent. Standing too close risks provoking defensive attacks. Even if you have no intention of approaching the predator, the ecosystem operates on signals humans cannot naturally perceive. Temperature, terrain, and timing exacerbate the threat. Apex predators are optimized for their environments. Many hunt during daylight, exploiting heat and vision. Others are crepuscular, operating at dawn and dusk, when shadows and light provide perfect cover. Humans, adapted for diurnal activity, but without tools or weapons, cannot match this level of efficiency. The environment amplifies danger. Mud and water slow your movements, while predators traverse them effortlessly. The forest and plains are designed for survival by these creatures, not by you. Observation of predator-prey interactions demonstrates the complexity of this ecosystem. Large herbivores employ defensive strategies, herding, tail swings, and sudden bursts of movement to evade predators. In turn, predators adapt, coordinating strikes, studying vulnerabilities, and exploiting distraction. A human, unarmored and slow, cannot participate in these survival dynamics. Every instinct available to you is insufficient. Even remaining completely still offers limited protection. A predator may sense unfamiliar scent or slight movement. The consequences of exposure are immediate. A misjudged step near a predator's path could be fatal. Approaching water sources for hydration introduces risk from lurking crocodilians or ambush predators. Trying to climb trees for refuge might place you in the line of arboreal hunters. Even insects, venomous or disease-bearing, exploit human vulnerability. In essence, every action carries lethal potential. This is not an environment where errors are forgiven. Energy management is critical, but nearly impossible. Humans require rest, hydration, and nutrition to maintain focus. In this ecosystem, fatigue is deadly. The sun intensifies dehydration and overheating, Constant vigilance drains mental and physical reserves. Every movement consumes energy, and the need to avoid predators limits opportunities to rest or seek sustenance. This cumulative strain makes survival even more improbable. Ultimately, the apex predators define the prehistoric world. Their hunting strategies, intelligence, sensory adaptation, and coordination place humans at a severe disadvantage. Standing in their presence provides insight into evolutionary efficiency but underscores human fragility. Observing them, you begin to understand the hierarchy. Survival depends on adaptation, not strength alone. In this environment, humans are prey, not participant. By late morning, the pattern is evident. Predators patrol, observe, and attack with precision. The landscape, filled with towering trees, rivers, and plains, serves as both hunting ground and stage. Humans are entirely out of place. Every day, in the presence of these apex hunters, reinforces the stark reality. Surviving 24 hours in the prehistoric era requires more than luck. It requires transformation, adaptation, and an understanding of behaviors that cannot be learned in hours. Even brief exposure to these predators reshapes perception. The world is no longer a collection of passive scenery, but an active, dynamic environment where every sound, scent, and movement matters. Apex predators are the ultimate selectors, ensuring that only the most adapted species survive. For humans, however, unprepared and unarmed, the reality is clear. Any misstep, any lapse in attention, and survival ends instantly. Rivers and lakes in the prehistoric world are not the safe havens they appear to be. Unlike modern streams or ponds, these water sources are hunting grounds, full of predators perfectly adapted to ambush and attack. For a human, even approaching water is a calculated risk because every drink could be your last. The prehistoric aquatic ecosystem is one of the most overlooked yet deadliest aspects of survival during this era. The first thing to understand is scale. Water in the Cretaceous period harbored predators far larger than anything alive today. Take Deinosuchus, for example, a crocodilian capable of exceeding 30 feet in length. Unlike modern crocodiles, this creature combines immense strength with surprising speed. It lurks beneath the surface, almost invisible, waiting for prey to approach the bank. Its jaw can crush bone with ease. A single lunge is sufficient to drag an adult herbivore or a human under the water and drown it. There is no warning, no hesitation. Ambush is instinctive and instantaneous. It's not just the Deinosuchus that poses danger. Rivers are also home to lungfish, giant amphibians, and predatory fish like Zephactinus, a massive, torpedo-shaped predator capable of swallowing creatures nearly half its size whole. Small mammals, reptiles, and even juvenile dinosaurs occasionally fall victim to these fish. For a human unfamiliar with the environment, a misstep into deeper water could mean an encounter with a predator whose speed and strength surpass comprehension. The water gives no advantage. It magnifies vulnerability. Riversides themselves are hazardous. The banks may appear shallow, but soft mud can trap an unsuspecting human. One moment, your foot feels firm. The next, you are sinking, and the struggling sounds draw attention. Predators notice vibrations in the soil and water. Aquatic ambush predators are attuned to motion, pressure changes, and even the faintest splash. For them, the sound of a human struggling is an invitation. Unlike terrestrial predators that rely on sight, these hunters rely on physics, the way water moves when disturbed, the ripple pattern of approaching prey. And once they strike, there is no escape. Even small streams and tributaries are dangerous. Large amphibians like Beelzebufo, a prehistoric frog species, could reach sizes comparable to modern-day cats, capable of swallowing smaller animals whole. Though they pose less threat to a human adult, their presence illustrates that danger exists at every scale. Every water source contains multiple layers of threat, from tiny parasites in stagnant water to giant predators hiding just beneath the surface. Rivers also attract terrestrial predators, carnivorous dinosaurs, knowing that prey must drink, patrol riverbanks constantly. Raptors may wait nearby, coordinating attacks with each other to isolate individuals from the herd. Larger theropods use stealth, hiding behind vegetation to strike at weakened or distracted prey. Humans, thirsty and unarmed, become an obvious target simply by approaching these crucial resources. In essence, the very act of survival, hydration, is an opportunity for predators to find you. Water temperature adds another layer of risk. Warm, stagnant pools are perfect breeding grounds for bacteria and parasites. Drinking from these sources without purification, which would be impossible in the prehistoric era, risks infection. Skin contact with contaminated water can also introduce pathogens. Even without immediate predation, the ecosystem is working against you biologically. Diseases present in this era are entirely foreign to the human immune system. Fever, diarrhea, and infections could incapacitate you within hours, leaving you easy prey for any nearby predator. Rivers are dynamic. Seasonal flooding changes the landscape, creating temporary pools and channels that predators exploit. Crocodilians migrate to these areas. Fish thrive in oxygen-rich floodwaters, and herbivores follow predictable patterns for hydration. Predators understand these patterns instinctively. Humans cannot. Moving without knowledge of these dynamics increases risk exponentially. The river that seems safe in the morning may hide danger by noon. Ambush predators are masters of camouflage. Dinosuchus and similar crocodilians remain nearly invisible, with only eyes and nostrils above the waterline. From a distance, the bank may appear calm, yet beneath lies a lethal force. Even large fish can accelerate explosively, leaving no chance for escape. Humans lack the reflexes and awareness necessary to detect these threats in time. In an aquatic environment, sensory input is severely limited, increasing vulnerability. The terrain surrounding rivers often magnifies danger. Steep banks, soft mud, and tangled vegetation impede movement, forcing humans into predictable paths, exactly where predators expect them. Crossing a river requires planning, timing, and an understanding of predator behavior that no human could have. A single misjudged step could place you within striking distance of multiple predators simultaneously. Even water itself can hide unexpected hazards. Submerged branches, deep holes, and sharp rocks can injure the unwary traveler. For a human, without specialized footwear or knowledge, minor injuries are magnified in this environment. Blood in the water, even a few drops, attracts predators. The presence of one injured animal can lead to an immediate and lethal response from multiple species. Ultimately, rivers and aquatic environments are a trap disguised as a necessity. You must drink, but doing so exposes you to predation, disease, and injury. The ecosystem ensures that every approach to water is fraught with dangers. Even observation is risky. Watching predators hunt in these areas means moving too close or making noise. Survival, in this context, requires timing, speed, and knowledge humans do not possess. By the time midday arrives, the rivers are alive with movement. Fish leap, crocodilians submerge and surface, insects buzz, and predators patrol every edge. Herbivores approach cautiously, constantly alert for the faintest sign of threat. You, as a human, have no such advantage. Your presence is noisy, slow, and conspicuous. Even a moment of hesitation could allow a predator to strike from the water, the shore, or nearby vegetation. The lesson is clear. Water is both essential and deadly in the prehistoric world. It provides life, but hides threats that no human instinct or tool could easily counter. For a modern human, transported back in time, the rivers of the prehistoric era are not just obstacles, they are a constant reminder that survival in this ecosystem is precarious, limited, and temporary. As time progresses in the prehistoric era, the world evolves, introducing a new class of danger, mammals. Though they are smaller than dinosaurs, their intelligence, agility, and specialized adaptations make them formidable threats. By the late Cretaceous and into the Cenozoic era, these creatures become the apex predators of their niches, and even the smallest can inflict fatal harm on an unprepared human. Early mammals may have been diminutive, but they were far from harmless. Small carnivorous species evolved to hunt insects, reptiles, and each other. Their teeth are sharp, their jaws strong for their size, and they are incredibly quick. Many hunted at night using heightened senses of smell, hearing, and vision to locate prey. Humans entering their environment would be slow and noisy by comparison. A bite or scratch, even from a creature no larger than a modern fox, could introduce infection or venom that modern medicine cannot counteract in the prehistoric era. As the world transitions into the Ice Age, the stakes grow even higher. Larger mammalian predators emerge, species built to dominate the ecosystems left by extinct giants. Saber-toothed cats, like Smilodon, are perhaps the most iconic. Their enormous, curved canine teeth are capable of slicing through flesh and puncturing major arteries. Unlike modern big cats, saber-toothed predators relied on ambush. They stalked silently, using thick vegetation and terrain to conceal their approach. When they strike, the attack is short, brutal, and nearly always lethal. For a human, speed and reflexes are insufficient. The predator's combination of stealth, power, and instinct leaves virtually no chance of escape. Cave bears also pose significant danger, especially when disturbed or surprised. These enormous omnivores can exceed 1,800 pounds and, despite their plant-heavy diet, are territorial and capable of incredible bursts of speed. Humans approaching caves or food sources risk provoking these giants. A single swipe from their powerful forelimbs could be fatal, and their acute sense of a smell ensures they detect intruders quickly. Even avoiding confrontation requires careful planning, extensive knowledge of their behavior, and constant vigilance, conditions impossible For a modern human dropped into this environment without tools or preparation, other mammals, while smaller, are no less dangerous in aggregate. Packs of wolves, wild canids, or early hyena-like scavengers operate in coordinated groups. They attack in numbers, targeting the weak or isolated. A human separated from even a small pack of allies would be at immediate risk. In these ecosystems, intelligence alone is insufficient. Size, strength, and social coordination determine survival. The gap between human capability and the evolved adaptations of these mammals is stark. Disease and parasites further amplify the threat. Many mammalian species carry pathogens that modern immune systems cannot recognize. Insect vectors, fleas, ticks, biting flies spread disease rapidly. Open wounds or even small scratches from claws or teeth can become fatal infections within hours. The combination of predator attacks, environmental hazards, and microscopic threats creates a survival landscape that is overwhelmingly hostile. The hunting strategies of these mammals also demonstrate their sophistication. Saber-toothed cats, for instance, rely on patience. They track prey for hours, choosing the perfect moment to strike. Unlike the speed-based pursuit of many dinosaurs, these predators are methodical, exploiting ambush and precision over stamina. Cave bears may not hunt regularly, but they dominate key resources such as caves, water sources, and seasonal feeding grounds. Every location that seems safe, rivers, caves, forest edges, is already a contested space. Even smaller mammals exhibit intelligence and adaptability. Rodent-like species, marsupials, and primitive carnivores develop behaviors to avoid predation, manipulate their environment, or compete for food. To a human, these creatures may appear insignificant, yet their presence can compound danger. Scavenging insects and small predators take advantage of human exposure, introducing wounds, infections, or confusion at critical moments. In a world where survival is measured in hours, these minor threats cannot be ignored. The environment itself reinforces the difficulty of survival. Dense forests, rocky terrain, and extreme weather patterns create additional challenges. Humans require knowledge of shelter, food sources, and routes of escape. In prehistoric ecosystems dominated by mammals and lingering dinosaur-like predators, this knowledge does not exist. Every movement is a gamble. Every decision carries potentially lethal consequences. The intelligence of these mammals, honed over millennia, ensures they can exploit the weaknesses of any unprepared human almost immediately. By the late morning or early afternoon, the cumulative effect of these predators is clear. Even if dinosaurs are long gone in this timeline, mammals have taken over the ecological niches of apex hunters, introducing new dangers that are both subtle and overwhelming. Ambushes, pack coordination, environmental awareness, and disease combine to create a setting where human survival is improbable. Observation alone reveals the complexity of the ecosystem, but interacting with it, even minimally, risks injury, infection, or death. Ultimately, the mammalian predators of the prehistoric era illustrate one key truth. Evolution favors specialization and adaptation. Saber-toothed cats, cave bears, and early pack hunters exist in balance with their environment. They do not hunt humans specifically, but a human is prey by default. Modern humans, unarmed and unprepared, lack the speed, strength, and sensory adaptations necessary to navigate these ecosystems safely. Survival depends not on skill, but on avoidance, a near impossible feat when threats are both large and small, visible and invisible, immediate and persistent. By understanding these dynamics, we can appreciate why even a single day in this world would be a fight against forces beyond human comprehension. Predation, environmental hazards, and disease operate on a level that modern survival skills cannot match. Every step, every breath, every movement carries risk, and even for the most alert and intelligent human, the odds of making it through 24 hours remain vanishingly small. The prehistoric mammalian world is a place dominated by apex predators, creatures built to hunt, kill, and survive with terrifying efficiency. Among these, the saber-toothed cats stand out as some of the most lethal. Species like Smilodon fatalis evolved with a single purpose: to bring down prey much larger than themselves, using power, precision, and ambush tactics. To any human suddenly appearing in their territory, survival is virtually impossible. Saber-toothed cats are not fast sprinters like modern cheetahs. Instead, they rely on stealth, patience, and the element of surprise. They can approach prey undetected for hours, using the terrain, rock outcroppings, dense brush, fallen trees, to conceal their presence. When they strike, the attack is calculated and swift, a powerful pounce to immobilize, followed by a precise bite using their elongated canines to sever critical arteries or puncture vital organs. Even the most agile human would be unable to escape a well-timed attack from such a predator. Cave lions, Panthera spelaea, slightly larger than modern African lions, employed similar strategies. They often hunted in pairs or small groups, using teamwork to corner prey. Their strength is incredible. They can bring down animals heavier than a human several times over with a single swipe of their massive forelimbs. Clawing, biting, and brute force are combined in attacks that leave almost no chance for escape. Even simply observing them from a distance highlights the risk. Their stalking behavior is nearly invisible, and their patience means they strike when the target is least prepared. Other apex mammals, like dire wolves and early hyenas, introduce additional dangers. Dire wolves, often traveling in packs, can overwhelm even large herbivores through coordination and endurance hunting. Their hunting style emphasizes endurance and teamwork, pursuing prey over long distances, cutting off escape routes, and isolating weaker individuals. A human caught in such a scenario would be outmatched in every sense: speed, strength, and strategy. Escaping would require near perfect conditions and extraordinary luck. These predators are also masters of environmental adaptation. Saber-toothed cats are ambush specialists in forests, while cave lions favor open plains and valleys where cover is limited. Predators like cave bears, though primarily herbivorous, are formidable when provoked or hungry. They use size and strength to intimidate or eliminate threats. Even a cautious approach to their territory is risky. Humans cannot predict their behavior reliably, and a sudden encounter could turn deadly in seconds. One of the most dangerous aspects of apex mammalian predators is their ability to exploit human vulnerability. Humans are slow, soft, and unaware of prehistoric environmental cues. Predators detect unfamiliar scents, unusual movements, and even subtle behavioral patterns that indicate weakness. A human alone, exhausted or distracted, is effectively a target. Even those attempting to hide are at a disadvantage. These predators can smell sweat, hear subtle movements, and see in low light conditions that humans cannot. The hunting strategies of apex mammals are also highly specialized. Saber-toothed cats use a combination of ambush and immobilization, targeting the neck or soft underbelly of prey. Cave lions and dire wolves employ chase, flanking, and intimidation to break the prey's defenses. Each tactic is honed over generations, and a human, unarmored and unaware, offers no countermeasure. These predators do not hunt for sport. They hunt to survive, and evolution has ensured they execute their roles with lethal precision. Timing plays a crucial role. Apex predators often hunt during crepuscular periods, dawn and dusk, when light conditions provide concealment and prey activity is high. Humans, adapted for daytime activity and reliant on sight, are disadvantaged during these critical hours. Predators exploit shadows, contrast, and low visibility conditions to ambush effectively. Mistakes, miscalculations, or even hesitation can result in immediate death. Even when predators are not actively hunting, their presence dominates the environment. Tracks, scent markings, and auditory cues indicate territories, influencing the behavior of all other species. For a human, ignoring these signals is dangerous. Moving unknowingly into a predator's territory can trigger a defensive or territorial response. Apex mammals, even if they have not hunted in hours, retain the capacity for instantaneous aggression, and humans cannot anticipate it. The cumulative effect of these predators is overwhelming. A human attempting to traverse prehistoric landscapes is simultaneously threatened by multiple species: saber-toothed cats in the forest, cave lions in open plains, dire wolves along river valleys, and cave bears occupying shelter-rich caves. Each predator exploits its environment and prey adaptations to maximum effect. Humans, lacking camouflage, claws, or physical strength, are ill-equipped to cope. By midday, the reality becomes stark. Apex mammalian predators dominate not only through strength, but through intelligence, strategy, and environmental mastery. Survival is not simply about avoiding detection, it is about understanding a complex web of predation, territory, and behavior that humans cannot comprehend in hours or even days. Every step taken in their territory carries immense risk, and every mistake can be fatal. Ultimately, the Saber-Tooth Strike is a lesson in evolutionary specialization. These predators are perfectly designed to kill, and humans, unadapted and unarmed, exist in their environment only as potential prey. Understanding their behavior, strategies, and adaptations underscores the impossibility of surviving even a single day without tools, knowledge, or luck. Apex mammalian hunters are the embodiment of prehistoric danger, patient, precise, and lethal. As the prehistoric world shifts into the Ice Age, the landscape transforms, forests thin, plains stretch farther, and the climate grows colder. Amid this vast, changing terrain, new giants emerge: mammoths, and mastodons, herbivores so immense that humans are insignificant in comparison. Observing them is awe-inspiring, yet for any human transported into this era, these creatures are a constant source of danger. Mammoths, particularly the woolly mammoth, are adapted to freezing climates, covered in thick fur, with layers of fat beneath the skin. They are built for endurance and survival in harsh environments. Adult mammoths can stand over 12 feet tall at the shoulder and weigh upwards of 6 tons. Mastodons, while slightly shorter, are stockier and equipped with massive tusks used for digging, defense, and combat. These animals are slow-moving in general, but their sheer mass means that one misstep or agitated movement could crush a human instantly. Even when calm, the vibrations of their steps reverberate through the frozen earth, reminding any observer of the scale difference between predator and human. These giants are social animals, traveling in herds for protection and guidance. The herd's structure ensures the safety of the young while maximizing foraging efficiency. Adults surround juveniles, using their size and tusks to protect against predators. For a human, approaching a herd is impossible without detection. Not only do you risk physical harm from accidental trampling, but adult members are capable of aggressive displays or charges if they sense a threat. Even a small movement that interrupts the herd's rhythm can provoke defensive behavior. The tusks themselves are formidable weapons, long, curved, and capable of piercing wood, earth, or bone. They serve both feeding and defensive purposes. Mammoths and mastodons use them to fight rivals, uproot vegetation, and defend against predators. Any encounter with a human near these tusks would almost certainly be fatal. Even an attempt to evade through terrain close to these giants increases the likelihood of being caught between a trampling foot and a swinging tusk. Predation on these giants is rare, but it does occur. Saber-toothed cats, large dire wolves, and coordinated predator groups occasionally target the young or weakened individuals. While humans are not primary prey, standing between a predator and a mammoth can place you in immediate danger. The strategy of these apex hunters is precise: isolate, strike, and subdue. Humans, lacking natural defenses, can be injured or killed by either the predator or the protective response of the herd. Water and feeding areas are particularly dangerous. Mammoths and mastodons spend significant time near rivers or watering holes. Humans approaching these sources risk startling the herd or exposing themselves to predators attracted by the large gathering of animals. The surrounding terrain, mud, ice, and uneven ground amplifies danger. A fall into frozen water or soft mud could make escape impossible, leaving you exposed to predators or the giants themselves. Behavioral patterns of these herbivores are highly organized. The herd's movement is dictated by seasonal foraging, climate conditions, and predator avoidance. Humans, unaware of these patterns, inadvertently place themselves in dangerous proximity to these giants. Even simply crossing a grazing area can provoke a defensive response, whether by charge, stomp, or tusk attack. Their ability to perceive threats far exceeds human senses, making close encounters nearly always fatal. Temperature extremes compound the challenges. Mammoths are adapted to freezing climates, but humans are not. Exposure to cold, snow, and wind without appropriate clothing or shelter leads to hypothermia, combined with fatigue, dehydration, and the constant need for vigilance. The environmental stress on a human is severe. Even a brief encounter with a mammoth herd can exhaust both body and mind, reducing reaction times and increasing the likelihood of mistakes. The sheer scale of the Ice Age environment makes navigation difficult. Plains stretch for miles, forests are interspersed with swamps and frozen rivers, and mountains block direct paths. Herds of mammoths dominate these landscapes, effectively controlling access to resources. For humans, this means that avoiding them is as important as avoiding predators. Crossing paths with one or more giants can make entire routes impassable or deadly. Interaction with these giants is a gamble. Even non-aggressive behavior can trigger panic within a herd, leading to trampling or crushing. Human noise, scent, or erratic movement is enough to disturb their calm. A single mistake can escalate rapidly. Mammoths communicate through low-frequency rumbles and vocalizations, vibrations that humans cannot interpret. A perceived threat might prompt defensive action long before a person realizes they are noticed. Finally, survival depends on timing and caution. Daylight hours are optimal for observing herd behavior, but approaching or crossing areas requires extreme care. Even the most cautious movements must consider multiple factors simultaneously: herd patterns, predator presence, terrain hazards, and climate conditions. For humans without tools, shelter, or modern knowledge, these calculations are nearly impossible to execute effectively. By understanding mammoth and mastodon behavior, the scale of the threat becomes clear. These giants are not aggressive by nature, but their size, strength, and social coordination make any human presence dangerous. Unlike predatory attacks, which are fast and lethal, the threat from herbivores is constant, environmental, and unavoidable. Survival in their territory requires knowledge, caution, and mobility, resources unavailable to modern humans suddenly transported to the Ice Age. In summary, mammoths and mastodons dominate the Ice Age landscapes in a way that dwarfs human capacity for control. Their size, defensive behaviors, and environmental impact create a near impossible survival scenario. Even a single encounter carries the risk of death, making 24-hour survival among these giants an extraordinary challenge. The forests of the Ice Age are dominated by a shadowy presence, the cave bear. Unlike the mammoth, which roams open plains, cave bears inhabit the dense forests and mountainous regions, claiming caves, rocky overhangs, and hidden valleys as their domain. At first glance, they may appear slow or placid, grazing quietly on vegetation, roots, and berries. But for any human entering their territory, their calm is deceptive. Cave bears are immense, powerful, and capable of sudden, deadly aggression when provoked or startled. Adult cave bears can weigh over 1,500 pounds and stand nearly 10 feet tall on their hind legs. Even on all fours, their size and muscle mass are intimidating. Their powerful forelimbs end in long, curved claws, capable of digging through earth and slashing threats. Their bite is equally formidable, designed to crush vegetation, but capable of inflicting serious injury to a human. Any accidental encounter, such as approaching a cave for shelter or startling a bear while foraging, can trigger a defensive attack with almost no warning. Cave bears are largely herbivorous, but are not purely passive. They will defend their territory fiercely, particularly around caves used for denning or feeding. A human entering a cave unknowingly is likely to be perceived as a direct threat. Unlike modern bears, which may bluff or retreat under certain conditions, cave bears rely on sheer size and aggression to maintain dominance. A single swipe or charge can easily kill, making forested and mountainous regions perilous for humans attempting to navigate or seek refuge. Their sensory adaptations enhance their threat. Cave bears have acute senses of smell and hearing, capable of detecting humans before the first visual contact occurs. Movement, noise, and scent all alert them to intruders. For a human unaccustomed to interpreting these cues, proximity alone is a major risk factor. Even hiding behind vegetation may offer limited protection. Cave bears can detect subtle disturbances, from broken branches to the faint aroma of sweat. Behaviorally, cave bears are territorial and largely solitary. Except for mothers with cubs, solitary predators are unpredictable. Unlike pack hunters, they do not coordinate attacks, but their strength, speed, and stealth make them independently deadly. A bear, resting or foraging, may appear calm, but any sudden noise or movement can provoke a lightning-fast response. Humans, slow and poorly armored, stand little chance once a bear decides to attack. The environment amplifies the risk. Cave bears often inhabit rocky terrain, steep valleys, and dense forests, areas that naturally impede human mobility. Rocks, roots, and uneven ground reduce reaction time while limiting escape options. A human trying to flee from a bear in such an environment is likely to trip, slow down, or become cornered. Even if the bear does not intend to attack, accidental contact can be fatal. Their territory is a labyrinth where the predator's knowledge of the terrain far exceeds human understanding. Cave bears also compete with other predators. Saber-toothed cats, wolves, and smaller carnivorous mammals sometimes encroach on their territory, leading to conflicts. Humans caught in the midst of such interactions are at extreme risk, as predators may interpret movement as prey behavior. The sheer number of species interacting in these habitats compounds the danger. What seems like a quiet forest can quickly erupt into lethal chaos. Seasonal behavior is another factor. Cave bears hibernate during winter months, but in autumn, they increase feeding activity to prepare. During this time, they are highly active, more aggressive, and less tolerant of intrusions. Encountering a cave bear during this period is particularly dangerous. The bear's search for food, combined with territorial instincts, makes every movement of a human conspicuous and potentially lethal. Even water sources, berry bushes, or cave entrances may be sites of intense competition and conflict. Human vulnerabilities are magnified by environmental factors. Dense foliage obscures vision, making it difficult to track a bear's movement. Uneven ground impairs running speed. Exposure to cold, fatigue, and hunger reduces alertness. Cave bears, in contrast, are adapted for endurance, strength, and survival under harsh conditions. A single mistake, turning a corner, stepping on a twig, or making a noise, can trigger a defensive response that is unstoppable. without weapons or tools. Even from a distance, cave bears dominate the forest with presence alone. Their sheer size is intimidating, and their behavior is unpredictable. Vocalizations, roars, huffs, and growls serve as warnings to intruders, asserting control over territory. Unlike human intuition, cave bears operate on instinct honed over millennia. Every action of a human in their vicinity is interpreted in the context of threat or prey. Survival demands complete understanding of these behaviors, yet humans have no prior exposure, placing them at a near certain disadvantage. By late morning or early afternoon, a human navigating the Ice Age forests quickly realizes that cave bears are more than passive hazards. They are apex residents of their environment. While herbivorous in diet, their size, territoriality, and aggression make them deadly. Humans cannot coexist safely with them, and avoidance is the only viable strategy. Though even that carries risk due to unpredictable behavior and complex terrain. In conclusion, cave bears exemplify the hidden dangers of the prehistoric world. Unlike the more obvious threat of saber-toothed cats or mammoths, they operate quietly, silently, asserting control over forests and caves. For humans, even brief exposure is fraught with lethal risk. Every step taken in a cave bear's domain is a gamble, every sound a potential trigger, and every attempt at shelter or resource acquisition an opportunity for disaster. The Ice Age forests, though visually calm, conceal predators capable of ending a human life in moments, leaving survival a precarious and nearly impossible endeavor. Beyond predators and massive herbivores, the Ice Age itself presents a relentless adversary, the environment. The frozen terrain is as much a threat to survival as any saber-toothed cat, cave bear, or mammoth. For a human suddenly dropped into this period, the cold, snow, ice, and unpredictable landscape create dangers that are immediate, constant, and often lethal. Temperature is the first challenge. Even in summer months, temperatures can drop sharply at night, and in winter, they often plunge far below freezing. Wind chills in open plains or mountainous regions intensify the cold. Without clothing adapted to extreme conditions, humans are at immediate risk of hypothermia. The body loses heat faster than it can produce it, especially when fatigued or wet from snow or rain. Muscle function slows, reflexes diminish, and mental acuity falters, all while predators remain fully adapted to these extremes. Frozen rivers, lakes, and wetlands are deceptively dangerous. Ice may appear solid, but varying thickness and hidden currents can make it treacherous. A step in the wrong place can result in a plunge into freezing water, rapidly reducing body temperature and causing shock. For a human, exposure to icy water can incapacitate within minutes, leaving them unable to climb out, evade predators, or seek shelter. Even shallow streams can be lethal if hypothermia begins to set in. The frozen terrain itself becomes a predator of human vulnerability. Snow and ice amplify other dangers. Deep snow slows movement, making humans easy targets for predators. It hides crevices, fallen logs, and unstable ground, increasing the risk of injury. Ice slicks make footing treacherous. Even a minor fall can result in fractures or sprains. In this landscape, minor injuries have outsized consequences. A twisted ankle or broken limb in the middle of the Ice Age leaves humans immobile, exposed to both environmental hazards and the attentions of predators. Shelter is scarce and difficult to construct. Trees may be sparse, fallen logs covered in snow, and caves occupied by dangerous animals like cave bears. Attempting to build a refuge requires energy, skill, and resources that are nearly impossible to find in this environment. Exposure to wind, snow, and rain compounds fatigue and reduces the likelihood of survival. Humans, without fire or modern insulation, are extremely vulnerable to frostbite, hypothermia, and exhaustion. Nutrition becomes another challenge in frozen terrain. Plants are limited, and most are dormant or buried under snow. Edible resources are scarce, and attempting to forage exposes humans to predators or environmental hazards. Ice and snow conceal dangers and slow movement, turning foraging into a risky proposition. Even when food is found, it may be insufficient to sustain energy levels, especially in conditions where maintaining body heat requires significantly more calories. Water presents a paradox. Rivers may be frozen, requiring tools to access liquid water safely. Melting snow is possible, but it consumes energy and exposes humans to extreme cold. Water sources are often territorialized by animals, such as mammoths or cave bears, making approach dangerous. Humans face a continuous balance between hydration, exposure, and predation risk, a balance nearly impossible to maintain without knowledge, experience, or tools. Terrain itself is variable and hostile. Mountain passes, cliffs, and valleys may be blocked by ice or snowdrifts. Sudden avalanches or landslides are a constant risk in steep areas. Hidden crevices or thin ice can result in falls into deep, inaccessible spaces. The Ice Age landscape is dynamic. Freezing and thawing cycles continually alter conditions. Routes that appear safe in the morning may become deadly by afternoon. The climate also affects predator behavior. Apex predators are adapted to cold conditions and can move efficiently across snow and ice. Mammoths and mastodons travel long distances to forage, trampling paths humans might attempt to follow. Saber-toothed cats and dire wolves use the snow to their advantage, stalking prey that is slowed or distracted by harsh conditions. Humans are slow, exposed, and vulnerable in a world built for creatures far more capable of navigating frozen terrain. Even micro-hazards have outsized effects. Wind can remove body heat at alarming rates, especially if clothing is inadequate. Snow can blind or disorient. Frostbite can develop rapidly in extremities, reducing mobility and tactile ability. Exposure combined with injury or dehydration quickly escalates into life-threatening conditions. Unlike predators, the environment is constant. It requires no effort to kill, only the passage of time in hostile conditions. By late afternoon, humans navigating the frozen terrain experience cumulative fatigue, cold, hunger, dehydration, injury, and mental strain compound, reducing reaction time and decision-making capacity. Every movement becomes more dangerous. A misstep near a river, cliff, or predator increases the likelihood of fatal outcomes. The environment itself becomes an adversary as deadly as the animals inhabiting it. Ultimately, the frozen terrain of the Ice Age is not just a backdrop, it is an active, relentless threat. Predators, herbivores, and disease are deadly, but the climate amplifies these dangers, limiting human mobility, reducing strength, and forcing risky decisions. Surviving even a single day requires navigating extreme cold, unstable ground, and scarcity of resources, challenges for which humans of that era were poorly adapted. In essence, the Ice Age is a crucible of survival. Every environmental factor, from temperature and snow to frozen water and unstable terrain, works against unprepared humans. The landscape, like the predators it hosts, is unforgiving. It is a world where every choice carries risk, every step is calculated, and survival is a matter of chance, endurance, and awareness beyond human capacity. In the unforgiving Ice Age, the environment is relentless, but it is not always the predators that claim lives first. Often, the most lethal threats are invisible: hypothermia and exhaustion. These silent killers operate quietly, stripping humans of their strength, alertness, and capacity for survival long before any predator has a chance to strike. For a modern human transported into this world, every misstep, every moment of fatigue increases the risk exponentially. Hypothermia occurs when the body loses heat faster than it can generate it. In the freezing temperatures of Ice Age plains and mountains, heat is constantly being drained from exposed skin, extremities, and even core body mass. Wind intensifies this effect, carrying warmth away from the body at alarming speed. Snow, rain, and ice exacerbate the situation, soaking clothing and reducing insulation. Even a short exposure without proper shelter or preparation can trigger a rapid decline in body temperature. Shivering begins first, a minor warning, but as hypothermia progresses, the body slows its functions, muscles become weak, reflexes sluggish, and cognitive abilities deteriorate. For a human navigating this environment, delayed reaction times can be fatal when predators or environmental hazards are nearby. Exhaustion compounds the problem. Humans require calories to maintain energy and generate body heat. In the Ice Age, food is scarce. Plants are buried under snow, and hunting or scavenging exposes humans to predators, extreme terrain, and freezing water. Dehydration sets in quickly, especially if water sources are frozen or contaminated. Every attempt to forage, climb, or evade threats consumes precious energy. Fatigue builds silently, weakening muscles, impairing judgment, and reducing coordination. A stumble on uneven terrain, a misjudged distance, or a delayed reaction to a predator's presence can mean instant death. The interplay between hypothermia and exhaustion is particularly dangerous. As the body cools, metabolism slows, energy levels drop faster, increasing fatigue. Reduced strength and slower reflexes make it difficult to navigate terrain or defend against threats. Mental clarity declines, leading to poor decisions, walking into predator territory, attempting to cross frozen rivers, or failing to recognize environmental hazards. In essence, these silent killers amplify every other danger, creating a cascade of risks that humans are ill-equipped to manage. Even minor mistakes have outsized consequences. Losing a glove or hat, slipping in snow, or sitting too long on cold ground initiates a chain reaction. Early signs of hypothermia: shivering, confusion, lack of coordination, may be mistaken for fatigue or hunger. By the time awareness returns, the body may already be compromised. Ice forms on exposed skin, frostbite develops, and movement becomes painful and clumsy. Predators, keenly attuned to movement and weakness, detect these vulnerabilities instantly. Humans slow or distracted by cold are easy targets. Nighttime amplifies these dangers. Temperatures plummet, and visibility decreases dramatically. Even well-adapted Ice Age mammals are active or adapted for low light, while humans must contend with darkness and freezing conditions simultaneously. Sleep, while necessary for survival, is perilous. Finding shelter is critical, yet most caves and shelters are already occupied by dangerous predators or aggressive herbivores. Attempting to rest without protection invites both predation and further exposure to cold. Water is another silent hazard. Melted snow or frozen streams provide hydration, but exposure to cold water accelerates heat loss dramatically. Wet clothing, frozen extremities, and immersion in icy streams can trigger hypothermia within minutes. Even small amounts of water, contact in sub-zero temperatures, increase risk. In combination with exhaustion, a single dip or fall can incapacitate a human entirely. The terrain itself exacerbates fatigue and exposure. Climbing hills, navigating forests, or traversing icy plains consumes energy at an accelerated rate. Each misstep increases physical strain. Injuries, sprains, cuts, bruises drain additional energy while simultaneously increasing vulnerability to infection, predators, and cold. Humans are unarmed, slow, and soft-bodied compared to the creatures and environment around them. Every decision, every movement, and every pause carries consequences. Behavioral responses to hypothermia and exhaustion are paradoxical. Humans instinctively seek shelter, warmth, and rest, but finding safe locations is nearly impossible in the Ice Age. Approaching caves, rivers, or mammoth paths exposes them to predators. Attempting to move faster to escape cold consumes energy, hastening exhaustion. This physiological feedback loop makes survival extraordinarily difficult, even without direct predator threats. Ultimately, hypothermia and exhaustion are silent but relentless killers in the Ice Age. They weaken, disorient, and slow humans, rendering them vulnerable to environmental hazards and predators alike. Unlike a sudden predator attack, these threats are cumulative, building over hours and days. A human may not notice the danger until it is too late. Awareness, preparation, and energy management, which humans lack in this scenario, are critical, yet nearly impossible to achieve in this world. By late afternoon, the combined effects of cold, fatigue, and environmental stress dominate survival chances. Even a single lapse, a pause too long, a misjudged movement, a failure to recognize danger can initiate a downward spiral. Humans are no longer fully capable of rational decision-making. Their body weakened, senses dulled, and vulnerability to predators or accidents maximized. In this sense, hypothermia and exhaustion operate like unseen predators, stalking silently alongside every other danger in the Ice Age. In conclusion, the physiological threats of the Ice Age, the gradual, invisible effects of cold and fatigue, are as deadly as any animal predator. Survival is not simply a matter of evasion or observation. It is a constant struggle against forces within the human body itself. In this environment, even minor mistakes quickly escalate into life-threatening conditions. Hypothermia and exhaustion are silent killers, ensuring that, for most humans, 24 hours in the prehistoric ice age is an almost impossible ordeal. As the sun dips below the horizon, the prehistoric world transforms. Darkness is no longer simply an absence of light. It becomes a time when hunters of the night emerge, creatures that thrive under moonlight and shadow. For humans, the arrival of night dramatically increases risk. Our senses, tuned to daylight and dependent on vision, falter. In contrast, nocturnal predators awaken, fully adapted to exploiting limited light and silence to hunt efficiently. Among the first to emerge are owls and giant raptors. Nocturnal birds of prey evolved for silent flight and precision. Species like Bubo giganteus, the prehistoric giant owl, possess wingspans capable of casting shadows large enough to intimidate even medium-sized prey. Their talons are curved and sharp, designed to seize and pierce. Exceptional night vision allows them to detect movement imperceptible to human eyes, while facial discs focus sound, making even faint rustling detectable. A human moving unknowingly under trees is immediately visible to these predators, and their attacks are nearly impossible to evade. Ground predators of the night, such as dire wolves and early big cats, are equally dangerous. Nighttime hunting offers these mammals cover and advantage, allowing them to approach quietly, coordinate in packs, and ambush prey slowed or disoriented by darkness. Humans, relying primarily on sight, are ill-equipped to detect movement in low light, making them easy targets. Wolves, in particular, use sound and smell to locate prey. A single misstep or accidental noise can trigger a deadly pursuit before a human has the opportunity to react. Nocturnal predatory insects and smaller mammals add an additional layer of danger. Giant prehistoric insects, like dragonflies with 2-foot wingspans or venomous centipedes, operate at dusk and night, drawn to warmth and movement. Bites and stings may introduce venom or infection, compounding the risks posed by larger predators. Small mammals, nocturnal scavengers, and opportunistic carnivores further complicate survival. Even seemingly minor creatures contribute to the overall hostility of the nighttime ecosystem. The darkness itself is a formidable adversary. Humans cannot see uneven ground, hidden roots, or unstable terrain. Frozen rivers and ice patches become treacherous hazards when obscured by shadows. Snow can mask holes, crevices, or predator tracks. Navigating this environment requires light, but light exposes humans to predators. Fires or torches attract attention from animals and may even provoke defensive behavior. Darkness, therefore, limits both perception and options for survival simultaneously. Nocturnal predators exploit human vulnerability. Their senses are attuned to subtle cues: breath, scent, sound, and vibration. Humans, unaware of these cues, inadvertently signal their presence. Even attempts at silence are often insufficient. The heavy, uneven steps of a human disrupt the forest floor, crunching leaves breaking twigs, and vibrating the soil. Night hunting predators detect these disturbances instantly, honing in with deadly efficiency. Survival requires skills that no modern human possesses instinctively. Moonlight and starlight provide partial illumination, but also reveal movement. Shadows from trees, rocks, or snowbanks obscure precise distances, allowing predators to ambush without warning. Predators like cave lions, saber-toothed cats, and dire wolves combine stealth with speed, taking advantage of hesitation or confusion in low-light conditions. Humans caught in these moments are at a severe disadvantage, misjudging distances, overestimating mobility, or failing to detect a predator can result in immediate fatality. Temperature extremes worsen at night. Hypothermia accelerates, and fatigue sets in more profoundly. Darkness reduces mobility and awareness, making navigation of snow, ice, or uneven terrain even more hazardous. Humans attempting to find shelter are forced into risky decisions, approaching caves, rivers, or animal trails, all potential predator zones. The combination of environmental stress, darkness, and nocturnal hunting creates a near-perfect scenario for predation. Even the auditory environment is hostile. Nighttime sounds, such as distant predator calls, rustling foliage, or snapping ice, signal threats but are difficult to localize. Humans may misinterpret direction or distance, moving unknowingly closer to danger. Predators, conversely, have evolved acute sound localization, allowing them to triangulate the position of prey efficiently. Every step, pause, and breath is monitored in the darkness, reducing human chances of unnoticed movement to nearly zero. Nocturnal hunting also interacts with social predators' strategies. Packs coordinate using vocalizations and non-visual cues to trap prey. A lone human, unarmed and unaware, cannot outsmart these systems. Even the presence of a herd of large herbivores, like mammoths or mastodons, can create indirect danger at night. Predators exploiting prey in such environments can inadvertently place humans in the path of trampling giants or defensive animals. By midnight, humans in the prehistoric world experience cumulative vulnerability, fatigue, hypothermia, environmental hazards, and predator activity combine to form a lethal environment. Every decision, whether to move, remain still, or seek shelter, carries high risk. Nighttime is no longer merely an obstacle, it is an active predator, amplifying the dangers of the day and exploiting human weaknesses to maximum effect. In conclusion, nocturnal predators transform the prehistoric night into a landscape of heightened risk. Owls, wolves, big cats, and smaller nocturnal hunters exploit darkness, silence, and human vulnerability with lethal precision. For any human in this environment, nighttime is not a respite, it is a period of extreme danger, requiring vigilance, skill, and instincts that humans are poorly equipped to access. Survival depends on avoiding exposure. But in a world of keen nocturnal predators, avoidance is nearly impossible. While the prehistoric world is often imagined as a battleground dominated by ground-based predators, the skies were no less dangerous. Large, predatory birds, some with wingspans rivaling small aircraft, roamed the prehistoric skies, hunting with precision, speed, and intelligence. For a human navigating forests, plains, or river valleys, these aerial hunters added an entirely new dimension of risk. Danger did not come only from below or on the ground. It could strike from above, silently, quickly, and lethally. One of the most formidable aerial predators was the giant raptor owl, such as Bubo giganteus, with wingspans exceeding 10 feet. These birds were masters of stealth. Silent flight, achieved through specialized feather structures, allowed them to approach prey without warning. Their vision, adapted for low light and excellent long-distance focus, enabled them to detect small movements in dense foliage or open plains. Humans, who rely on sight primarily for immediate surroundings, would be highly visible to these hunters, their motion betraying them long before they could detect the bird. Large eagles and raptor-like birds also patrolled the skies, capable of seizing prey with talons strong enough to crush bone. They often hunted near rivers, open plains, or cliff edges, areas humans might traverse in search of food or water. A sudden dive from such a predator could incapacitate a human instantly, leaving them vulnerable to further attacks or environmental hazards. Unlike ground predators, these birds exploit the vertical space humans often ignore, attacking from angles with little anticipation. Predatory birds were not solely solitary hunters. Some species displayed coordinated hunting behavior or territorial aggression. For example, pairs or small groups could chase, confuse, and drive prey toward cliffs, open plains, or waiting terrestrial predators. A human attempting to flee from one threat might inadvertently move into the path of another. The combination of aerial and ground predation created a network of lethal possibilities, leaving little room for safe movement. Even smaller flying predators contributed to the overall risk. Gigantic insects like prehistoric dragonflies, giant hornets, or 2-foot-long beetles attacked at dusk and dawn, capable of biting or stinging humans. While not lethal alone, their attacks could distract, injure, or provoke panic, making humans more vulnerable to larger predators. Birds, in particular, were opportunistic, exploiting any sign of weakness, injury, or hesitation. Rivers, cliffs, and open plains presented particular dangers. Many sky hunters nest near these locations, watching for movement below. Humans approaching water sources are especially vulnerable, as predatory birds detect motion from afar and can dive with lethal precision. Approaching cliffs or steep slopes exposes individuals to ambush tactics, as birds can drive prey toward ledges, creating fatal falls. Even the act of seeking safety or resources may bring humans into conflict with these aerial predators. Weather conditions often amplified the threat. Winds and storms may obscure sound, making the approach of a predatory bird even less detectable. Rain and snow can reduce visibility, but many prehistoric birds were adapted to hunt under these conditions, relying on sound, motion, and pressure changes in the air to locate prey. Humans, unadapted to such sensory environments, would be unable to perceive these threats until it was too late. The behavior of sky hunters is also influenced by time of day. While some were active during the day, many hunted at dawn, dusk, or night, times when human vision is limited. Low-light hunting gives these predators a tactical advantage, and humans are often ill-equipped to respond. Shadows, movement, and sound are all exploited to mask approach increase accuracy, and ensure the element of surprise. Even in open plains, where humans might assume safety, sky predators remain a constant threat. Their elevated perspective allows for early detection, and their speed and agility make evasion nearly impossible. A sudden dive or talon strike could incapacitate or kill instantly. Unlike ground predators, escape options are limited. Trees may not provide cover from above, and running cannot outrun a bird in flight. The interaction of aerial and terrestrial predators further compounds risk. Large birds can drive or corner prey toward waiting land-based hunters, creating deadly traps. Humans, slow and unarmed, would be caught in these crosshairs with little chance to anticipate or escape. Predators of the sky do not operate in isolation. Their attacks often integrate with the ecosystem's broader predation network. In essence, predatory birds are silent, high-speed hunters of the prehistoric world. Their attacks are precise, swift, and often unavoidable. Humans, unaware of threats from above and dependent on visual cues for survival, are particularly vulnerable. Even cautious movement, awareness, and attempts to hide may be insufficient when aerial predators are present. By late afternoon or evening, the presence of sky hunters adds an invisible layer of danger to the already hostile prehistoric environment. Humans must contend with threats from the ground, predators of the night, and now the skies. Survival requires constant vigilance, rapid assessment, and instinctive reactions, all of which are severely compromised by fatigue, hypothermia, and environmental hazards. In conclusion, the skies of the prehistoric era are not a refuge, they are hunting grounds. Giant raptor owls, eagles, and opportunistic predators exploit vision, speed, and surprise to subdue prey. Humans are conspicuous, slow, and vulnerable, and the combination of aerial and terrestrial threats ensures that danger is omnipresent. In a world where predators can strike from above, below, and from the shadows, 24-hour survival is not merely difficult, it is nearly impossible. While predators and the environment are immediate threats, prehistoric humans also faced invisible killers, disease and parasites, fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and biting insects carried pathogens unfamiliar to a modern immune system. Even a small bite could lead to infection or fever, weakening the body within hours. Contaminated water sources, decaying carcasses, or contact with animal waste introduced bacteria that modern medicine now easily treats. But back then, these infections were often fatal. Parasites, from intestinal worms to lice, thrived in dense forests, caves, and on mammals. They drained energy, caused pain, and distracted humans at critical moments. A minor parasite infestation, combined with cold, fatigue, or injury, could tip the balance from survival to death. In short, the microscopic world of the prehistoric era was just as lethal as the giants, the carnivores, or the frozen rivers around them. Water seems like a refuge, but in the prehistoric world, rivers, swamps, and frozen lakes are deadly. Fast currents can sweep humans away. Icy surfaces conceal thin spots, and swamps trap unwary travelers in mud and deep water. Crossing a river to escape predators could lead to drowning, and standing in freezing water accelerates hypothermia. Even shallow streams hide hidden obstacles or predators waiting nearby. Water is both life and threat, a constant hazard for anyone unprepared. Humans today rely on fire, but a time traveler to the prehistoric era may lack the knowledge or tools to create it. Without fire, warmth, light, and protection from nocturnal predators are impossible. Cold bites faster, darkness becomes deadly, and predators are emboldened. Fire is also crucial for cooking, purifying water, and signaling for help. Without it, the odds of surviving even a few hours plummet drastically. Finding food in prehistoric environments is a constant struggle. Plants may be buried under snow, roots hard to dig, and small game scarce. Attempting to hunt exposes humans to predators, while foraging consumes energy faster than it replenishes it. Starvation sets in quickly, reducing strength, reaction time, and cognitive ability. Hunger combines with cold, injury, and fatigue to create a lethal feedback loop. The landscapes are vast and disorienting. Forests, mountains, and plains all look similar, and without maps or landmarks, humans can quickly become lost. Wandering off course increases exposure to predators, environmental hazards, and starvation. Every step away from safety multiplies the risk, turning navigation into a survival challenge. In the prehistoric world, being lost often equals death. Humans are social animals, but alone in the prehistoric era, isolation magnifies every danger. No allies to share vigilance, help carry food, or warn of predators means every threat must be faced alone. Fatigue, fear, and injury compound without support. Even minor challenges, crossing a stream, evading a predator, or finding shelter, become life-threatening when tackled solo. Survival depends on more than skill. It relies on numbers and cooperation, which a stranded human lacks. Survival is not about a single threat. It's the accumulation of risks. Predators lurk above, below, and in the shadows. Disease, hypothermia, starvation, exhaustion, and environmental hazards chip away at strength. Each hour, the odds decrease. By the end of 24 hours, even a cautious, alert human faces near certain death. The prehistoric world is a gauntlet where the combination of factors, not just one, is enough to overwhelm modern survival instincts. Ultimately, humans are prey in every aspect of the prehistoric world. They lack claws, fangs, thick hides, speed, and instinctual knowledge of the environment. Every creature, from massive mammoths to tiny insects, exploits weaknesses humans cannot compensate for. Even intelligence alone cannot overcome the combined force of predators, climate, and terrain. Survival is not impossible in theory, but in practice, a 24-hour trial would almost certainly end in fatality. While the scenario is grim, it teaches respect for evolution, adaptation, and the dangers of the natural world. Every predator, environmental hazard, and physiological challenge is perfectly honed to its niche. Humans are clever but fragile compared to these forces. Understanding this world deepens appreciation for how modern survival skills, tools, and knowledge have transformed human existence, but also how small, vulnerable, and exposed we truly are in the grand scope of life on Earth. Now, dear friend, with a smile on your face, you have journeyed through the prehistoric world. understanding why surviving even 24 hours among dinosaurs, saber-toothed cats, mammoths, cave bears, and the relentless Ice Age hazards would have been nearly impossible. You've seen the predators from above, below, and in the shadows, felt the crushing weight of cold, hunger, and exhaustion, and realized that the world back then was a gauntlet built for survival, not comfort. Remember, these stories are more than just tales. They are glimpses into the raw, untamed power of nature, evolution, and the past. The next time you look at a modern forest, a snowy mountain, or even the animals in your backyard, take a moment to imagine the forces that shaped life long before humans walked the earth. Now, with this knowledge, and perhaps a newfound respect for our own fragile existence, you can rest easy, sleep peacefully, knowing you've survived the prehistoric world in your mind. Good night, dear friend. See you next time.